The coffee had gone cold in my hands, but I couldn't move. I sat frozen in the hallway bathroom, my heart hammering against my ribs as voices drifted through the thin wall from the kitchen. My daughter Emma's kitchen. The kitchen where I'd taught her to bake cookies when she was 7 years old. But right now, I wished I'd never stepped foot in this house today. Just be patient, okay? It won't be much longer. That was Derek, my son-in-law. His voice carried that smooth, calculated tone I'd always mistaken for confidence. I've been patient for 2 years, Derek. A woman's voice. Not Emma's. Younger, sharper. When are you going to file for divorce? My hand flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. Soon. Very soon. Look, Emma's mom just put down a massive deposit on that beach house Emma wanted. Once that closes, the property will be in both our names. Then I file. California's a community property state, remember? I'll walk away with half of everything, including half that beach house. The woman laughed, cold and brittle. You're terrible. I'm smart, Derek corrected. Emma's family has money. Her mom's been more than generous. Why shouldn't I benefit from that? I've played the perfect husband for long enough. My vision blurred with tears. The beach house. The $300,000 deposit I'd made just last week. Emma had been so happy, talking about how she and Derek could start fresh there, maybe finally start the family they'd been planning. She'd cried tears of joy when I told her I wanted to help make their dream come true. I'd thought Derek was quiet that day. Subdued. Now I knew why. He'd been calculating. What about the kid's situation? The woman asked. Didn't Emma want to start trying? Derek snorted. Yeah, she's been pushing for it. As if I'd tie myself to her with a child. I've been making excuses for months. Work stress, financial concerns. She buys all of it because she trusts me. The word trusts hit me like a physical blow. Madison, baby, once this divorce goes through and I get my payout, we can finally be together openly. We'll have enough money to start our lives right. Travel, that condo in Miami you wanted. Everything. I couldn't listen anymore. My daughter. My sweet, trusting Emma who loved this man with her whole heart, who'd stood beside him through his career changes, his mother's illness, his financial struggles, who defended him to friends who quietly questioned his motives, who was home right now at our house, helping me plan the surprise anniversary party for Derek that we'd been organizing for weeks. The anniversary party. For a man planning to divorce her and steal her money. My hands shook as I quietly stood, carefully turning the bathroom door handle. I needed to get out of this house. I needed to think. The hallway was clear, and I could still hear them talking in the kitchen, their voices casual, discussing my daughter's destruction like it was a business transaction. I made it to my car, tears streaming down my face. I didn't remember driving home. When I pulled into my driveway, Emma's car was still there, and through the window, I could see her laughing at something on her phone, probably a message from Derek. How could I tell her? How could I break her heart with the truth? But how could I not? I sat in the car for 20 minutes, composing myself. When I finally walked inside, Emma looked up with that bright smile that had lit up my world for 28 years. Mom! There you are. I was wondering what took so long. Did you forget something at the house? No, sweetheart. I just needed some air. Went for a drive. She studied my face. Are you okay? You look upset. Just a headache, I lied, the words tasting like poison. I think I need to lie down. Of course. Go rest. I'll finish up the party planning. Derek's going to be so surprised. I retreated to my bedroom, closing the door and leaning against it. My mind raced. I could tell Emma right now, destroy her world in an instant with the truth. But Derek would just deny it. It would be my word against his, and I had no proof. He'd paint me as the overbearing mother-in-law trying to sabotage their marriage. Emma might even believe him. No, I needed to be smart about this. Smarter than Derek thought he was. I pulled out my phone and started researching. California family law, community property, real estate transactions. By the time the sun set, I had the beginnings of a plan. It was risky. It was going to require careful timing and even more careful acting. But if I pulled it off, Derek would get exactly what he deserved. Nothing. Over the next 3 days, I became someone I didn't recognize. I smiled at Derek during the anniversary party, gave a touching speech about love and commitment while he stood there with his arm around Emma, looking like the perfect husband. The whole time, I wanted to throw my wine in his face. But I played my part. And I started playing a different game entirely. On Monday, I called my lawyer Richard, who'd handled my affairs since my husband passed away 5 years ago. Richard, I need to make some changes to the beach house purchase. What kind of changes, Margaret? I want to restructure how the deed will be held. Is there a way to put the property solely in Emma's name, with specific protections against it being considered community property? Richard was quiet for a moment. That's unusual. May I ask why? Let's just say I have concerns about the marriage. I need to protect my daughter's interests. I see. Well, yes, there are ways. We could structure it as a gift specifically to Emma with a proper prenuptial or postnuptial agreement, or we could use a trust mechanism. But Margaret, if Emma's already married, this could get complicated, especially if her husband doesn't cooperate. What if Emma doesn't know about the changes until after they're made? Another pause. That would be legally questionable and could cause significant family issues. What if the property never actually gets purchased under the current agreement? Now that's different, Richard said slowly. If the transaction falls through and you decide to restructure a future purchase differently, that's entirely your right. The deposit might be forfeit depending on the contract terms, but I don't care about the deposit. Can you review the purchase contract and find me a legal way out? Margaret, what's going on? I told him everything. By the end, Richard was silent for a long moment. That son of a... He caught himself. Give me 24 hours. I'll find you an exit strategy. Richard called back the next evening. There's a property inspection contingency in your contract. The inspection hasn't been completed yet. If we find significant issues, you can withdraw without penalty beyond a small processing fee. I happen to know an inspector who's very thorough. Very thorough. Make it happen, I said. While Richard worked on extricating me from the beach house purchase, I made another call. This one to a private investigator named Sarah Chen, whose name I'd gotten from a friend who'd gone through a messy divorce. I need documentation of an affair, I told her, explaining the situation. I'll need the husband's full name, workplace, vehicle information, and any details about the other woman. I provided everything I knew. Sarah was efficient and discreet. Within a week, she had photos, timestamps, hotel receipts, and text message records. Derek and Madison had been sloppy, too confident in their secrecy. But I still couldn't tell Emma. Not yet. The beach house deal fell through, just as Richard had orchestrated. The inspection revealed foundation issues that would cost hundreds of thousands to repair. Emma was devastated. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, I told her, holding her while she cried. But we can find another property. A better one. Derek's been so stressed about it, she said, wiping her eyes. He really wanted that house. I'll bet he did. These things happen for a reason, I said carefully. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Derek, to his credit, played the disappointed husband well. But I caught the flash of calculation in his eyes. He was already adjusting his timeline, figuring out his next move. I was counting on it. 2 weeks later, I approached Emma with a new proposition. Honey, I've been thinking. Instead of buying property together, what if I set up a trust fund for you? Your father and I always meant to do it, and with the beach house falling through, maybe it's time. It would be yours alone, managed by the family trust. Protected assets for your future. Emma looked uncomfortable. Mom, that's generous, but shouldn't Derek and I talk about this? Of course, dear. But legally, inherited money and trust funds can be kept separate from marital assets if structured properly. It's just smart financial planning. Your father would have wanted you protected. I watched Derek's face when Emma told him that night. I'd come over for dinner, and Emma enthusiastically shared the news about the trust fund. The amount I mentioned was substantial. Very substantial. Derek's eyes gleamed. He was already recalculating, I could see it. A trust fund would be harder to touch in a divorce, but he was probably thinking he could convince Emma to access it during the marriage, buy things in both their names, find loopholes. What he didn't know was that the trust fund had very specific, very tight restrictions. Richard had crafted it beautifully. Emma would receive monthly distributions, but the principal would remain protected. No loans against it. No joint access. And if she divorced, the trust would be completely shielded. But I let Derek think he still had options. Meanwhile, Sarah continued her surveillance. The affair intensified. Derek and Madison were getting bolder, probably because Derek thought he was close to his payout. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was Sarah, and her voice carried an edge of excitement I hadn't heard before. Margaret, we've hit something big. I mean really big. What is it? Derek's been doing this before. I did a deeper background check, and there's a pattern. He married a woman in Nevada 6 years ago. Wealthy family. Marriage lasted 3 years, ended in a messy divorce. He walked away with a settlement. Then there was another woman in Arizona before Emma. That marriage lasted 2 years. Another settlement. My blood ran cold. He's a serial con artist. Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. The Nevada ex-wife, Patricia, has been trying to track him down. He owes her money. There was a clause in their divorce settlement about him paying back a loan her family had given him for a business venture that never materialized. He never paid. She's been looking for him for 3 years. Can she find him now? With the information I have? Absolutely. But Margaret, there's more. That business venture he took money for? It was registered under his real name, which isn't Derek Morrison. It's Derek Hutchins. He legally changed his name after the Arizona divorce. The room spun around me. Emma doesn't know any of this. I doubt it. He's good at covering his tracks. But I've got everything documented. Marriage certificates, divorce records, court filings, the works. This man is a professional. Sarah, I need all of that documentation. Everything you have. Already compiling it. But Margaret, there's one more thing. Madison, his girlfriend. I did some digging on her too. She's got a record. Fraud, identity theft, served 18 months 5 years ago. They're not just having an affair. I think they're partners. I think she's helping him run this con. My mind raced through the implications. This wasn't just about protecting Emma from a bad divorce. This was about stopping a criminal operation. I need to make another call, I told Sarah. Keep digging. Find out everything you can about Madison's involvement. After hanging up with Sarah, I called Richard again. We need to escalate this, I told him, explaining Sarah's findings. This isn't just a cheating husband. This is fraud. Possibly on a multi-state level. Richard whistled low. Margaret, this is serious. We need to involve law enforcement. If Derek has a pattern of marrying women for money using false pretenses, that's criminal fraud. If Madison is involved, that's conspiracy. But if we go to the police now, Derek will know we're onto him. He'll disappear, and Emma will still be married to a con artist. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we finish what we started, but we do it in a way that ensures he can't do this to anyone else ever again. Over the next week, Richard and I worked with Sarah to build an airtight case. We contacted Patricia, Derek's first wife, who was more than willing to cooperate. She provided additional documentation, including emails and text messages that showed Derek's pattern of manipulation and financial exploitation. We also contacted the Arizona ex-wife, Jennifer, who had her own horror story. Derek had convinced her to refinance her house to invest in a business opportunity. The business never existed. She'd lost almost everything. Both women wanted justice. Both women wanted to make sure Derek never did this to anyone else. But I still had to play my part. I still had to let Derek think he was winning. 2 weeks after Sarah's revelations, Derek made his move. He came to my house alone, something he rarely did. "Margaret, I need to talk to you about something important," he said, settling into my living room with that practiced sincerity I now recognized as pure manipulation. "Of course, Derek. What's on your mind?" "It's about Emma and me. I've been thinking a lot about our future, about starting a family. But to be honest, I'm worried about our financial security. The trust fund is wonderful, but it's restricted. What if we need access to larger sums for a house, for fertility treatments, for the baby's future?" "Here it comes," I thought. "I was hoping you might consider restructuring the trust to give us more flexibility. Or perhaps you could co-sign on a business investment opportunity I've been looking into. It's legitimate, great returns, and it would set Emma and me up for life." I pretended to consider it. "That's a big decision, Derek. What kind of investment?" His eyes lit up as he launched into his pitch. It was smooth, well-rehearsed, full of impressive numbers and promises. The same pitch he'd probably given to Patricia and Jennifer. "Let me think about it," I said when he finished. "I want to make sure it's the right move for Emma's future." Of course. Take your time. But Margaret, maybe don't mention this to Emma yet? You know how she gets anxious about money decisions. I'd like to present it to her once everything is arranged." "I understand," I lied. After he left, I called Richard. "He just tried to con me directly. We're ready." "Are you sure about this plan, Margaret? It's going to be dramatic." "I'm sure. Derek thinks he's the smartest person in any room. It's time to show him he's wrong." We set the trap for Emma and Derek's upcoming 3rd anniversary dinner. I'd insisted on hosting it at my house, told them I wanted to celebrate their love properly after the disappointment of the beach house falling through. Derek had readily agreed, probably seeing it as another opportunity to manipulate me. The night of the dinner, my house was filled with flowers and candles. Emma looked beautiful in a blue dress, genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. Derek wore his best suit and his best smile. They had no idea what was coming. We sat down to dinner, made small talk, toasted to love and commitment. Then, as dessert was being served, the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," I said, catching Richard's eye. He was there as my guest, supposedly for social reasons. I opened the door to reveal Patricia and Jennifer, Derek's ex-wives, along with Sarah Chen and 2 police detectives. "Margaret." Emma's voice came from the dining room. "Who is it?" I led the group inside. Derek's face went white when he saw Patricia and Jennifer. "Hello, Derek," Patricia said coldly. "Or should I say Derek Hutchins? It's been a long time." Emma stood up, confusion written across her face. "Mom, what's going on? Who are these people?" "Emma, sweetheart, I need you to sit down. Derek, you stay exactly where you are." One of the detectives stepped forward. Derek Hutchins, also known as Derek Morrison, we have some questions about fraudulent marriage practices and financial exploitation across multiple states. Derek tried to bolt. He actually tried to run. But the other detective was ready, blocking his path. "You can't do this," Derek sputtered, his smooth facade crumbling. "I haven't done anything illegal. These women are lying." "Really?" I said, my voice steady and cold. "Then explain these." I placed a stack of documents on the table. Marriage certificates under different names, court records, bank statements, text messages between Derek and Madison, not just about their affair, but about targeting Emma specifically, about researching her family's wealth, about planning the con. Emma's hands trembled as she flipped through the papers, her face growing paler with each page. "There's more," I continued. "Patricia, tell Emma about your marriage to Derek." Patricia stepped forward. "We were married 6 years ago. He told me he was an entrepreneur, that he had business opportunities. He convinced my parents to invest $200,000 in a tech startup. The company never existed. When I tried to divorce him, he fought for half of everything, including my inheritance. He eventually settled for $75,000 and disappeared." Jennifer went next. "Similar story. He married me, convinced me to refinance my house for a business investment, and vanished with the money. I lost my home." Emma looked at Derek, tears streaming down her face. "Tell me they're lying. Tell me this isn't true." Derek's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The smooth-talking con artist had finally run out of lies. "And Madison?" I asked the detective. "Has she been located?" "Officers are picking her up now. We have evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud. Text messages show she and Mr. Hutchins planned to target your daughter specifically, researched her family's financial status, and coordinated their approach." The full weight of it hit Emma then. She staggered, and I rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. "He never loved me," she whispered. "It was all fake. Everything was fake." "His feelings were fake," I said firmly. "But your love was real. That's not your fault. That's his." Derek finally found his voice. "Emma, please, you don't understand. These women, they're bitter, they're trying to destroy me. Your mother has poisoned them against me. None of this is what it looks like." "Shut up," Emma said, her voice breaking. Then stronger, "Shut up. I don't want to hear another word from your lying mouth." She turned to the detectives. "What happens now?" "We're taking him in for questioning. Given the evidence and the multi-state pattern, federal charges are likely. The FBI will be involved. Each of these women will need to make official statements. And ma'am, we'll need you to provide information about any financial transactions or discussions you had with Mr. Hutchins." As the detectives led Derek away in handcuffs, he shot me a look of pure hatred. "You did this. You destroyed everything." "No," I said calmly. "You destroyed yourself. I just made sure you couldn't destroy my daughter in the process." After they left, the house fell silent. Patricia and Jennifer stayed for a while, sharing their stories with Emma, offering support from people who truly understood what she was going through. Richard quietly excused himself, promising to be available for any legal needs. When everyone finally left, it was just Emma and me, sitting in the wreckage of her shattered world. "How long have you known?" she asked quietly. "I overheard him talking to Madison about 6 weeks ago. I've been building a case ever since." "Why didn't you tell me right away?" "Because I needed proof. Because I knew he'd deny it and I'd look like the interfering mother-in-law. Because I needed to protect you financially before he realized I was onto him. And because once I started digging, I realized this was bigger than just a cheating husband. This was a criminal operation." Emma was quiet for a long moment. I feel so stupid. You're not stupid. You're trusting. You loved honestly. He exploited that. None of this is your fault. I should have seen the signs. My friends tried to warn me. They said he was too smooth, too perfect. I defended him. I chose him over friendships. That's what con artists do, Emma. They isolate their victims. They make you feel like you're the only one who truly understands them. It's manipulation, and he was very, very good at it. She leaned her head on my shoulder, tears flowing freely now. What do I do now? Now you heal. You file for divorce, which will be easy given the circumstances. You cooperate with the investigation to make sure Derek faces justice. You go to therapy to process this trauma. And you remember that you're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. You will. Give it time. The investigation moved quickly. With evidence from 3 wives and a documented pattern of behavior, the federal prosecutor built a solid case. Madison turned on Derek almost immediately, providing testimony in exchange for a reduced sentence. She confirmed everything. They'd met in a support group for divorcees, bonded over their resentment toward their exes, and eventually started targeting wealthy women together. Derek would marry them, Madison would help research and plan the con, and they'd split the profits. Emma's case was actually their 3rd attempt. They'd successfully conned 2 other women between Jennifer and Emma, women who'd never reported it out of embarrassment. The trial was difficult. Emma had to testify, had to sit in a courtroom and recount how Derek had pursued her, proposed to her, lied to her for 3 years. But she did it with remarkable strength, her voice steady as she described the manipulation and deceit. Derek was convicted on multiple counts of fraud and sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Madison received 8 years. The other victims, including Emma, were able to pursue civil suits to recover some of their losses. But the real climax came 6 months after the trial, at the sentencing hearing where victims were allowed to give impact statements. Patricia spoke about losing her trust in people and struggling to form relationships after Derek's betrayal. Jennifer described losing her home and living in her car for 3 months. The 2 other victims, Derek and Madison, had conned, shared similar stories of financial and emotional devastation. Then it was Emma's turn. She walked to the front of the courtroom, looked directly at Derek for the first time since his arrest, and spoke with a clarity and strength that made me weep with pride. "You took 3 years of my life," she began. 3 years where I loved you completely, supported you unconditionally, and trusted you with my whole heart. You used that love as a weapon against me. You calculated every smile, every romantic gesture, every intimate moment as part of your con. And when I discovered the truth, my first feeling wasn't anger. It was shame. I was ashamed that I'd fallen for it, ashamed that I hadn't seen through you, ashamed that I had to tell my friends and family they'd been right about you all along. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "But I'm not ashamed anymore," Emma continued, her voice growing stronger. "Because I did nothing wrong. I loved honestly. I gave generously. I believed in the good in people. Those aren't weaknesses. Those are strengths. You're the one who should be ashamed. You're the one who lived a lie. You're the one who has to look in the mirror every day and see someone who hurts people for profit." She paused, gathering herself. "My mother saved me from you. When she overheard your plans, she could have just told me and let me fall apart. But instead, she protected me strategically, carefully, brilliantly. She made sure you couldn't take what was mine. She made sure you faced justice. She made sure you couldn't do this to anyone else. And she did it all while I remained oblivious, thinking I was married to a man who loved me." Emma's voice broke slightly, but she pushed through. "The irony is that you chose me because you thought my family's money made me an easy target. But you underestimated the most important thing about my family. We protect each other. My mother is the strongest, smartest, most fierce person I know, and you never saw her coming." She looked directly into Derek's eyes. "You wanted my family's money. You wanted our wealth. But you know what you actually got? You got caught. You got exposed. You got exactly what you deserved. And I got something too. I got proof that I come from a family that will go to war for each other. I got proof that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. And I got freedom from you." She turned to the judge. "I hope his sentence reflects the damage he's caused. Not just financially, but emotionally. He doesn't just steal money. He steals years of people's lives. He steals their ability to trust. He steals their sense of self-worth. That's what makes him truly dangerous." Emma walked back to her seat beside me, and I took her hand, squeezing it tightly. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked at Derek with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Hutchins, I've seen many criminals in my courtroom. But what you've done is particularly insidious. You don't just commit fraud. You emotionally torture your victims. You make them doubt themselves, their judgment, their worth. The sentence I'm handing down reflects that. 12 years in federal prison, with restitution to be paid to all victims. And Mr. Hutchins, I hope you spend every day of those 12 years reflecting on the harm you've caused." As they led Derek away, he looked back one final time. Not at Emma, but at me. And I saw something in his expression that I hadn't expected. Genuine fear. Not of prison, but of the fact that he'd been so completely outmaneuvered by someone he'd dismissed as just another Mark's mother. I held his gaze until he looked away. Outside the courthouse, Patricia and Jennifer approached us. "Thank you," Patricia said, addressing both Emma and me. "For years, I thought I was the only one. I thought something was wrong with me for falling for his lies. Knowing there were others, seeing him finally face justice, it helps." "We should stay in touch," Jennifer added. "Maybe form a support group. Help other women recognize these patterns." Emma nodded. "I'd like that. Maybe something good can come from all of this." As we walked to the car, Emma stopped suddenly and turned to me. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Anything, sweetheart." "That moment when you overheard Derek planning to betray me, when you decided to protect me instead of just telling me the truth right away, what made you choose that path?" I thought carefully about my answer. Because I knew that if I just told you what I'd heard, Derek would manipulate the situation. He'd make me the villain, make you doubt what I'd heard, maybe even convince you to cut me out of your life. And then, when he finally did betray you, you'd be completely alone and unprotected. I couldn't let that happen. So you became a spy, a strategist, a protector. I became what I needed to be to save my daughter." Emma hugged me tightly. "I spent my whole childhood thinking you were overprotective, that you worried too much, that you needed to let me make my own mistakes. I'm sorry I ever felt that way." "Don't be sorry. You were supposed to grow up and become independent. That's healthy. But independence doesn't mean you can't have people who watch your back." "Promise me something," Emma said, pulling back to look at me. "Promise that if I ever ignore red flags again, if I ever get involved with someone questionable, you'll intervene. Even if I get mad at you. I promise." "But Emma, I don't think you will. What you've learned from this experience, you'll carry with you. You'll be wiser, more cautious, better at recognizing manipulation." "I hope so." 3 years have passed since that courtroom day. Emma has flourished in ways I never imagined. She went back to school, got her MBA, started her own consulting business helping companies identify and prevent internal fraud. Her experience with Derek gave her unique insight into how con artists think and operate. She also started a non-profit with Patricia and Jennifer, offering support and resources to women who've been victims of romance scams and financial fraud. They've helped hundreds of women recognize warning signs, leave dangerous situations, and rebuild their lives. And yes, Emma found love again. Real love this time, with a man named Michael who teaches high school and coaches Little League. He has no interest in her money, is completely transparent about his past, and treats her with genuine respect and kindness. When he proposed, he did it simply, without grand gestures or expensive rings, just honest words about building a life together. The wedding was small, intimate, filled with people who truly loved them both. As I watched Emma exchange vows, I saw none of the uncertainty that had shadowed her wedding to Derek. This time, her smile reached her eyes. This time, her happiness was real. During her reception speech, Emma surprised everyone by calling me up to stand beside her. Most people thank their parents for raising them, supporting them, being there for life's big moments, she began. And my mom has done all of that. But she also did something else. Something extraordinary. She turned to face me, tears in her eyes. 3 years ago, I was married to a man who planned to destroy me financially and emotionally. I had no idea. I was completely blind to it. But my mom wasn't. She overheard his plans, and instead of panicking or immediately confronting him, she went to war for me. Quietly, strategically, brilliantly. She protected my assets, gathered evidence, built a case, and made sure that when the truth came out, I wouldn't just survive it, I'd be strong enough to thrive after it. The room had gone completely silent. She could have just told me what she'd heard and let me deal with the fallout. But she knew I'd need more than just the truth. I'd need protection, proof, and a soft place to land. So she gave me all of that. And because of her, a serial con artist is in prison, unable to hurt anyone else. Because of her, several other women got justice. And because of her, I'm standing here today, happy and whole, marrying a man who truly loves me. Emma raised her glass. So this toast isn't just to my mom. It's to all the mothers who go to war for their children, who see danger before we do, who protect us even when we don't know we need protecting, who love us fiercely enough to do hard things, make tough calls, and fight battles we don't even know are being fought. Mom, you're my hero. You always have been. But now everyone else knows it too. The room erupted in applause. I stood there, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed by love and pride and relief that my daughter had made it through to the other side. Later that night, as the reception wound down and Emma danced with Michael, Patricia came up to me with a glass of champagne. "You saved her," she said simply. "I wish someone had saved me." "You saved yourself," I replied. "You found the strength to come forward, to help bring Derek down, to help other women. That took incredible courage." "Maybe. But Margaret, what you did was remarkable. The way you played the long game, protected Emma without her knowing, built that case brick by brick. You're either the best mother in the world or the most terrifying enemy someone could have." I smiled. "Both, apparently. Well, I hope Emma knows how lucky she is." "I'm the lucky one," I said, watching my daughter laugh in her husband's arms. I got to see her survive something that should have destroyed her and come out stronger. What more could a mother ask for? As I drove home that night, I thought about the day I'd overheard Derek's conversation. The day my world had tilted on its axis. The day I'd had to choose between immediate honesty and strategic protection. I'd made the right choice. I was certain of that now. Derek had thought he was the smartest person in the room, thought he could manipulate and deceive without consequences. He'd underestimated the power of a mother's love and a mother's fury working in tandem. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But this wasn't revenge. This was justice. This was protection. This was a mother doing whatever it took to save her child from a predator. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because that's what love looks like sometimes. Not soft and gentle, but fierce and strategic. Not loud and obvious, but quiet and calculated. Not just being there for the good times, but going to war when danger threatens. Derek had wanted to shock everyone with his betrayal, his clever plan to marry for money and walk away rich. Instead, I shocked everyone by being 3 steps ahead of him the entire time. And in the end, justice wasn't just served. It was delivered with surgical precision by a mother who refused to let her daughter become another victim. That's the thing about underestimating mothers. We might seem gentle, might seem like easy targets, might seem too trusting or too naive. But threaten our children? Then you'll discover just how dangerous a mother's love can be.